Okay, so I'm a money coach. But before I was a money coach, I told you I was broke before. Eh? Do you know how broke I was? I got to a point where I left my job. I was working this job, and at some point, we did some bad stuff as an organization. And my dad had told me a long time ago that, Terrence, there's nothing more important than your name. There's no amount of money that's ever going to make it worth tarnishing your name. And I took him seriously, right? Because he was my father. He knew better than me. And he built something that for himself. So I quit this job. And then a friend of mine came and said, hey, Terrence, I think there's a business you need to start because there's stuff you're doing in your investment banking job, right? So I was an investment banker, right? So I did all that, got all those fancy grades, and so the certificates were there. And for a season, I made a bit of money. But the weirdest thing is, the more money I made, I don't know, it's like you start off drinking Pepsi, then you want to go to Coke, then you're like, Coke doesn't really do it, I want fruit juice. The money, like, you find a way to spend to the new level, right? Wow. And before you know it, you're driving cars, not because you need them, but you're driving cars so that people can see them. Are we together? Yeah. So I felt partially victim to that trap, right? And for me, it was more on the black tech side. I wasn't really driven by wanting to impress people, but people were now seeing how my income had changed, and they wanted me to pay some bills and do some things. So I fell victim to that. So my money, though it was growing, was disappearing at also a very fast rate. And at some point, I had to look and say, but what do I have? I still rent, I drive a really fancy car, cool, have a beautiful wife. That's actually a great investment. So I didn't say, so what's different? So when the company did what it did, that was like the great opportunity. Because one of the things that I want to warn you is that at some point, and I've got some students who are really smart, some lecturers, is that you can become a prisoner to your job. We good? Like the worst jobs are the best paying jobs. I said it, right? And the reason why the worst jobs are the best paying jobs is because if one job satisfies too many of your needs, it's going to make you lazy. Because you're going to think then everything's done. But here's the catch. If one job supplies your every need, do you know who owns you? Who calls the shot? The boss, right? When you say, it's like some of us, I want to go and watch my kid play, and they're like, we've got this report. And you know that, what are you doing? Are you going to watch your kid play, or are you going to write the report? You write the report because at the end of the month, who's paying you? Who's allowing you to send your kid to private school? Who's allowing you to rent that fancy apartment? Can you see it? Yeah. So sometimes the model we were told is rise up in the ranks, make as much money as possible, because when you're making that kind of money, you are set. What they didn't tell you is that if that money is coming from one source, you are also the modern day definition of a slave. So that's why you sometimes find yourself being overly busy working for one employer, because you know that if they decide to change their mind about you, you are gone. Have you guys seen people who are stressed when the company says we want to do restructuring? Yeah. Because their restructuring is your disaster, right? Cool. So I think I've stressed my point. So I decided in all my wisdom that I was going to start a business. And I was going to start that business in Blawayo. Because I had done my math and realized that to start a business in Harare, the amount of money that you need just to operate an office was ridiculous. I'll give you the stats. I could get 3 to 6 months worth of runway. That's months worth of rental, right? The amount of money I had would allow me to do 6 months in Blawayo, 1 month and a half in Harare. You see it? So though I wasn't from here, it made financial sense to leave Harare and come, because I didn't have a lot of money to start. And I don't know, and I think what would you say is one of the hardest things entrepreneurs experience when it comes to building a business? What do we believe is the hardest thing to find for your business? Capital, right? That's a lie, right? But that's what we think, right? And even though it's a lie, if you believe a lie, you're going to live a lie, correct? So for a season, when I was trying, I hate the word trying, but that's what I was doing. That's why I failed. Whenever you try, you're setting yourself up to fail. And we wanted to raise money, and I kept realizing that there were questions I was being asked around when I was raising that money that I didn't have answers to. Are we together? And my inability to answer those questions got me stuck. Until someone said to me, Terrence, here in Zimbabwe, we've been sold so many dreams. You just want to see something that is happening. So I said, let me go to a city, Blawayo, it's cheap enough, I can do 6 months worth of rental. But here was the catch. The 6 months worth of rental also meant that if I pay rent for a business, I can't pay rent for a home. You're not hearing me. So that meant, and if you're Shona, you're going to feel sorry for me, and then we can move on to the presentation, the conversation. For me, that meant going to live with my in-laws. It's tough. It meant going to live with my in-laws, and I was comforting myself. No, we're just waiting for our furniture to come from Harare. It's going to be 1 or 2 months. I don't want to move. You're lying to yourselves. You're just saying, it's just you flex. And I said, 2-3 months by the time our furniture comes, because we're using the train service to bring our stuff from Harare. 3 months became a year and some change. Woo! Ready? I got to, have you ever been so, I don't know if you guys have kids, so maybe you may not know. I was so broke that sometimes my prayer points were, Lord, may my son not get sick because we have no medical aid. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when he was turning 1, I almost jumped to the roof when my friends came and did a surprise birthday party for us. I've never celebrated for diapers that much. I was like Pampers was like, someone had just changed the world for me with Pampers. So you sort of get the idea of how tough things were. Yes. And the business didn't take off as quickly. When you do projections, you project to be profitable from day one.
Yes.
No one does a projection that has losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't. Day one wasn't that. Month 1, month 2, month 3, it was not going according to plan and not as fast as planned, right? And one of the things I started learning is some people will promise to give you money. When you go back to them, they start ignoring you.
Yes.
Right? You see, I feel like I'm preaching at this. So you guys sort of understand how tough things were sort of for me. And here you've got this beautiful wife that you don't deserve.
Yeah.
And you look and saying, how is this beautiful person still with me here? Oh, by the way, we had your parents' house. Right? Maybe that's why she's here. But that's one of the things that as you build your business, one of the things you're going to want to invest, and even as you build life, invest in relationships. Your relationships are going to do so much more for you than the money you're going to make along the way.
Yeah.
Are we together? I joke around, but I'm not joking around that if my wife ever decides to leave me, we are going together. Right? We are going together. I'll be like, don't worry, I didn't see it. You are with me, right? So, over the years, I've also started to discover that there were mistakes I was making as an entrepreneur, and those mistakes I was making as an individual. I did not understand the role that money played in my life. Yeah. And I let my background color my perspective on money, right? And I was getting told things that weren't for a particular generation that had become irrelevant for my generation. Are we together? And hadn't taken the time to introspect and investigate the facts. And that's the one thing I want you guys to do, is that as I speak, as we share, ask yourself, is this true? Do I believe this? And challenge yourself to say, how can I ask a question? Right? Because I'm going to say some stuff that's going to irritate some of you, some stuff that's going to feel unbelievable, but you know what? I've lived it. I've experienced it, and some of the stuff actually works and is working for me. So I told you I was broke, I'm broke no more. Right? Okay? Hallelujah. Amen. And the part of my life that I'm in now is I spend a lot of my life as a money coach. So that's why Tony spoke about, relationships with money, right? I'm a money coach. What does that mean? I help people build better relationships with money so that they can look at it from an abundance perspective that allows them to, 1, be more productive, be more profitable, and be in a space where they get closer and closer to the fulfillment that comes from not having to always look behind your back for the basics.
Yeah.
Are we together? But build from a place where you know that it's almost impossible for me to fail. All I need to do is consistently show up long enough until the stuff I'm doing begins to work for me. So if you're in business or if you're going to get into any endeavor, there are 2 things that will be happening too, right? A business will do 2 things too. A business will either work for you, and that's where you're seeing the profit, the financial profitability, you're building a team and all these wonderful things, and you're famous. Né? You're in newspapers, you're winning award shows, you feel like you've hit the jackpot. That's the beautiful side of business. That's the side of business that everyone wants to show you, right? But the side of business that no one wants to show you, or people pretend it doesn't exist, is the part of business where the business is working on you. The business either works on you or for you, right? And most of us don't like the part where it's working on us. And when it's working on us, it is working on us so that it can remove the things that are causing us to fail and turn us into the people for which the business can work for us. Are we together? So when you are doing stuff and it's not working, it's not a sign that the devil is a lie. No. The village is not condemned. All right? What it's a sign of is that what you are doing is not what needs to be done to serve the particular group of people you want to serve. So if you allow yourself to learn through, or what we call last through the learning curve, you get to a point where the business begins to work for you. And when the business begins to work for you, that's when you get to a point where when investors begin to ask you questions, when customers begin to ask you questions, you are in a position to be empathetic to look at their questions from their perspective. Are we together? You know you're not ready for business when you get offended by the questions you get asked by your customers. Because that shows you are more interested in yourself than the people who you want to deliver a good and service for. Are we together? So business works best and life works best when you understand it's not about you. It's actually up to you to figure out, how can I deliver something for someone else? That's value. Value is only valuable if it's valuable to someone else. Because we can't buy from ourselves unless you're crazy, right? Then you can do that. All right. So, I wasn't planning to say that, but it's gone. All right. So what I really wanted to say was this. Now, in the years of business, I found something fascinating about what it takes to build wealth and do business. For the longest time, I actually thought people bought the products and services I was offering. I actually thought that. I thought I was in business for people to buy the products. Like, if I make my product good enough, if I define my process and throw these jargons and show my customer that, this product is fast, is this, I tell them the features, I tell them the process, and all these things, that's how I'll get to business. And I realized the more I did that, the more time I wasted. And I learned the painful lesson that people don't buy your product or service. They buy your offer first. Did you get that?
No.
People buy your offer first. And what's that? Before I take interest in using your product, I need to hear you speak to me in a way that creates an excitement in me that maybe what this guy is saying could actually be true. So let me test out his product. No one buys what you have to sell. What they buy first is how you are selling what you have. Are we together? I learned this with my wife, right? That how I presented myself meant more than what I had at that point in time. Are we together? Like, my ability to show her, like, the guy I was not worth marrying, right? Because I didn't have much. But what she bought into was the vision and the way I articulated the vision of what I was going to build with my life. And that was the offer. She said, that sounds desirable. Are we together? That sounds desirable. That sounds like something I would like to have in the future. And based on that, she was willing to take a chance to discover what products and services I actually had. Are we together? So let me just get into a quick question. What business would you say you are in? What business are you? Just shout out what business you're in. Yes.
Data analysis.
Data analysis, yes. Clothing apparel. What business are you in? Yes.
These are one.
Okay, what business are you in?
Fintech.
You're all wrong. You're not in those businesses. You're not in those businesses. Do you know what? We're all in the same business. You know what that business is? We're in the business of selling. You're in the business of selling clothing. That's your business. Your business is selling. And what it's selling is creating a desire in someone else's heart and mind for what you have to give. Are we together? Because there are many of us who think we are doing a particular, you get so fixated in the business you're in. So what do? You spend more time getting to know what the stuff about the business. where to source the best materials, what the quality is. So when we start talking to you, you start telling us about the thread count on a t-shirt. And I'm like, do I buy threads? I want a t-shirt that's comfortable, preferably one that when my ex-girlfriend sees me, she knows she lost the breakup. So that's what you need. Are we together? So if I'm selling thread count, which is true, very good quality, it's going to be very good quality, versus when your girlfriend sees you with this, who's buying the girlfriend story? Let's be honest, who's buying the girlfriend story versus the thread count story? You know what you're doing, right? So what we're selling is, what people buy is the offer, the quality of the offer. And then the quality of the offer gives people the confidence to try out your offer. And what keeps people staying with you is the quality of the products now. Your product is what keeps people with you. How many of us have gone and watched a bad movie before? How many of us watched a movie and you're like, what did I do with myself? Or how many of you have gone on a really bad date and you're like, look, why am I here? Can you guys see? It's not about the product. It's about what they made you feel that got you to test out what they had.
Yeah.
So all our jobs, in any aspect, even on the money-making side, even on the attracting investment, because I think part of it was the conversation on attracting funding, is getting the prospective investor to feel like they want to try out or they want to go on a ride with you to actually test what you are saying. Are we together? So sometimes you spend too much time on the technical side and very little time on understanding what pushes the needle for the person I'm talking to. So I want to quickly get into a conversation on the psychology behind making offers, right? Because it's such an important aspect of our lives, right? What is the psychology? And I want to share this. It may feel like a sidetrack, but trust me, we're going somewhere with it. And it's going to help you sort of figure out how you can position yourself to be someone who attracts resources, who attracts financing, and whatever else you want to attract. And help you also understand when people don't buy from you, why they are not buying from you. Are we together? Now, there are these things, I'm sure in Zimbabwe, because in Zimbabwe we know them very well. They are called facts, right? It's a fact that we use Zig, right? It's a fact, eh? It's a fact that we used to use Zim dollars and then it changed over, right? Now, the thing with facts is that most people, you'll observe them, either you'll get to see them or you hear about them, right? Are we together? And day in, day out, as a people, we are constantly dealing with the facts that life throws at us. Are we together? Yes. Now, here's the thing about facts. Facts do not elicit any emotions from you, all right? But the one thing that happens is when we observe a fact, what it does for us, it creates a focus in our heads. All right? So when it comes to my attention, and if it's something that affects the way I live, it's going to create some focus in my head because I start thinking, okay, now that they've introduced Zig, what does this mean for my business? Right? Correct? Yeah. What does this mean for the money I had invested? What does this mean for the plans I had? Correct? And you're focusing on that. Now, when that focus in your head kicks in, what's happening is you're looking at the facts, and all facts have two sides. Can we agree on that? Yes. All facts have two sides. There's a positive side to the fact, and there's a negative side to the fact. And just for those in the room who are saying, no, there are some facts that are just negative, right? Like some people will say, Zimbabweans are struggling. Speak for yourself. Right? But there's a belief system where some people say, all of us are struggling, right? Have you ever heard someone say, Zimbabweans don't have money? No. Do you believe that? No. But do you think they believe that? They do, right? But what have they done? They focus on the negative side of the fact. Because truth be told, a majority in sub-Saharan Africa really do go through some hard times because of some bad decisions made by some other people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not always our fault, but sometimes being part of a system that is extractive rather than constructive, right? So there's a negative and a positive side. If you still don't believe me, tell me, have you ever seen a single-sided slice of bread? No. I'm just checking. All right, so there's a positive side to the fact and a negative side to a fact, correct? And the more you focus, what is going to create what is going to happen is that the more you focus on the facts you're experiencing, you either get to a point where you start focusing on the positive, and what happens is that focus is going to create beliefs. Right? So use a different kind. Or rather, before that, when we focus on these things, what we end up doing is we create a frame for this fact. We frame it and we look at it from the negative side and the positive side. And the more dominant or the positive, it's going to manufacture beliefs, right? And it's two beliefs that it manufactures. You're either going to have faith, and I'm not saying going to church here, and doubt, right? So faith is just a belief that what is the information before you is going to deliver a positive outcome for you, all right? So faith is just believing the best is going to happen, right? And doubt is believing that the worst is going to happen. How would you get? Both of these are beliefs, right? You good? Now, when you get the facts and you decide, I'm going to focus on the positive side, what it does, it creates a feeling. Where's my heart here? So we use red. It creates a feeling in your heart. Right? It creates a feeling in your heart. Right? And the feeling in your heart, if it's on the positive, if you're looking at faith, is it delivers this thing called anticipation. It delivers a feeling called anticipation. Sure. Hey, we need AI in this place. Do they have AI for notice boards? Alright. But if we take these facts, right? If the focus in our head is negative, and then creates a belief in our hearts, it creates a belief of doubt, and doubt then creates a feeling in our heart of anxiety. Did you get this so far? Mm-hmm. So if I believe that, hey, things are going to work out for me, I'm going to create, there's going to be an anticipation, right? That things are, my heart's going to, there's a bit of an excitement. And to define anticipation, it's the feeling you get or the energy you get when you believe that you're going to get a favorable outcome in what you're doing. Right? Have you ever had that energy? Let me give you an example. If I told you, how many of us have thought of writing books in the future? Excellent. Now, if I told you for certain that when you write your book, you're going to sell a million copies, and I tell you, I'm like, you tell me about, like, dude, it's going to sell 1 million copies. I'll buy the first 100,000 copies. Do you think, how long would it take you to write that book? 2 weeks. 2 days you'd be done. Right? Where's the energy coming from? It's come from the faith.
Yeah.
And that's faith, the feeling in your heart that what you are doing is going to work out for you. So that allows you to get the energy to do stuff. Right? But if the focus in your head is negative, all right? It manifests in your heart doubt. And doubt is saying this is not going to work. Right? And it's going to manufacture a feeling in your heart called anxiety. And what is anxiety? Anxiety, by my definition, is wasting present day energy on a future outcome that's undesirable. Did you get that? So we waste present day energy on a future outcome that's undesirable. And how does that work out? Have you ever felt like I'm procrastinating, or I've hit writer's block, or I just don't feel like doing it? There's no such thing as procrastination. You're anticipating what you're doing to fail. When you say I can't study for an exam, no, you're anticipating to fail. So the anxiety is you already see yourself having failed. So you actually end up failing because you don't end up doing the work that's necessary for you to succeed. Are we together? Yeah. So when the feeling in your heart is anticipation, you know you're getting closer to the outcome you desire, right? Yeah. And what these things do is, now that your heart is either anticipating or in anticipation or anxiety, it creates a function in your hand. This is the action. This is how it manifests in its magic. Now, if the feeling in your heart is anticipation, the function it creates in your hands is power. That's why you're able to act. That's why you're able to go 2-3 days without sleeping, right? Because now you feel like what I am doing is actually going to deliver what I want. Can you see it? It's that point when you are so sure that even if the country is messed up, you're saying, but you know what? The skill set I have is so special. I believe, I have faith that I can make a lot of money in this country or in any other country. And then I'm anticipating that I'm going to find problems that people need solved. Like when bad stuff happens, instead of focusing on what's wrong, you're focusing on what opportunities come up, what problem needs to be solved. Because when I solve this problem, I know I'm going to make a lot of money. So the function in your hand is you become an entrepreneur, an individual who does not allow the environment to determine their destiny. Are we together? So this works in your personal finance. When you are that person who's always looking and saying, right, okay, so what have they opened? You look at it and say, everything has two sides to it. And I'm going to consistently focus on the positive side of the conversation, of the situation. Are we together? And in certain things, it's hard. Like even stuff like debt. It can be hard to see the positive side, but there is one. There is one. And you have to consistently find that, because what it begins to do is you are consistently showing up as someone who is powerful. What you'll find is some investors will invest in you and not the product that you are selling.
Yeah.
And I think the technical term is you can become an acqui-hire based on your perspective of the world. If they see you and they say, each time this guy gets thrown or this girl gets thrown a curveball, she is seeing the business opportunity. They will want to invest in you because what you are showing to them is eventually you are going to find what is going to work for you. You're allowing the environment to work on you so you can become a person for which it works for. Are we together? But if you allow yourself to manifest anxiety, the function in your hand that you're going to experience is powerlessness. You are powerless. Right? You give up on things. You find the problem in every situation. Right? You are blaming everyone. You are like, hey, how my parents we grew up poor, so we don't need it. What do you want to do? Who am I to change the status quo? Let's keep going. And this is the thing that is this here, and this is on a personal finance side, is that when you allow yourself to produce the function of your hands to be power, you begin to understand that there are things in life. This was also not planned, but it's coming in. There are things in life that they are contributing factors, and they are determining factors. Are we together? So your success in business, your success in life, are a function of contributing factors and determining factors. Now, the thing with contributing factors, there are things that are outside your control. Are we together? Where you were born, do you choose? We just show up and you're like, why am I with this family? Right? You don't choose this. You don't choose where you are born. Do you choose what happens to you in your childhood? No. Some have been abused, have gone through all sorts of assaults. You didn't choose that, right? It's painful, but it's outside your control. Are we together? And what we do at times, and this is the philosophies, these are like, you're constantly making offers to yourself and you're making offers to others. Every day. Every day you're making an offer. And if you allow contributing factors to be determining factors, like where I was born, what happened to me growing up, the fact that I got fired from my job, those are all contributing factors. If you allow those to determine your future, you are going to constantly lose. Even in business, you are not going to get to the point. You are going to, at best, you make just enough to get by. Are we together? Because you have no power. You are constantly delegating decision-making authority to someone else. Are we together? And here's the truth. The worst thing that contributing factors can do for you in your journey, in business and in life, is delay you. Are we together? They can just delay you. But if you really look at them from the positive side, those can actually be your claim to fame. Do you know that? Someone who's been abused can speak to people who've experienced abuse because they know what they are going through. Are we together? When they create products, they're creating products based on one, a pain experienced. Are we together? And especially if they don't allow it to become a determining factor, they will share from an overcoming position. So you lead people away from pain. And that's what we're all looking for, right? Someone who can lead us from the pain, lead us away from the pain that we experience. And there's no better person. There are things that you went through that were actually setting you up for the business that you have to come through with. Are we together? So contributing factors, everything that's outside your control, at best is going to delay you. Now, determining factors, I love these ones. Determining factors are everything that's within your control. Are we together? The amount of time you're going to devote to self-education, that's within your control. Are we together? The kind of things you allow yourself to come out of your mouth, that's in your control. How you react to bad situations, that's in your control. Are we together? So success is actually an inside job. It's an inside job. So the determining factors are all within you. And one of the things in success, I want to define success because we've got a lot of nonsense definitions of success. Success is one, discovering your purpose. Okay? That's number one. There's three aspects to it. And then after you've discovered it, you develop yourself for your purpose. So you discover your purpose. So how do you discover your purpose? Your purpose is at the intersection of what you are passionate about and what you are proficient in. Let me use better English. And the things that you find yourself doing very well, sometimes not requiring much effort. Can you guys sort of find stuff like that? Yeah. If you've got good friends, you find your friends who tell you, how did you understand that? How did you figure that out? That's your area of proficiency, right? And your area of passion are the things that pull at your heartstrings. Sometimes they're the things you're always complaining about. Someone needs to do something about this. You are the one who needs to do something about this. So when your passion meets your proficiency, that's where you find your purpose. That's where you find the area that's going to make so much money for you, or at the very least create so much value for you that it will create a fulfilling existence. Are we together? Because very often, and this is why I don't believe money is the thing we don't need, because very often we think we are lacking resources. What we're actually lacking is resourcefulness. You don't like, how do I put it? It's not that you can't do the things that will get you successful. Are we together? Because Zimbabweans are exceptional. We are brilliant. No one reads better than we do. I don't know about the thinking part, but no one reads better than we do, right? But here's the thing. Our biggest challenge as Zimbabweans is we don't believe we can do the things that need to be done. Your biggest challenge is a belief system. It's a mindset issue, right? You don't think you can do the things because, so now if you don't believe that you can do something, you're never going to do it, even if you educate yourself for it. Because when it's time to show up, you'll be like, who am I to go and speak in front of this audience? Who am I to be a multi-millionaire? Don't you know where we come from? Are we together? Let me ask you a question. If you are a diamond, some of us say, look, the area I grew up in is terrible, man. But if I say to you, the value you carry in you is almost the equivalent of gold or a diamond, right? If we were to objectify you, turn into an object, we'd say, if you were a diamond, and then you went and you were placed in a location, would that make you less valuable? Do you know what actually happens? You make that location more valuable, right? Because not everyone wants to go to whatever area you grew up in because there's a diamond. Are we together? So that's the mindset. You have to see yourself. If you want to succeed in business, you have to see yourself as having something valuable to give to other people. And you are going to be relentless in delivering that value to those people because those people actually need what you have. And you're not going to let other people deter you from delivering that value. Can I be honest with you? For what you've been called to do, for what you are good at doing, there is no competition. I have no competition for the stuff I do. And the moment I discovered that, that's the moment I began to acquire clients. Because now you're not thinking about what is the next guy asking. Are we together? Do you know one of the biggest mistakes we make as entrepreneurs in our businesses that cause our businesses to fail is we fail to price our products appropriately. Tell me something, for those of you in business, how did you come up with your price? You are now shy, okay.
Usually you check what people are charging.
Are you giving when other people are giving?
No.
But we do that, I didn't.
Yeah.
And look at it. We charge at 2,000 an hour. So maybe the guy margin, but 1.5. Right? You want to undercut, and you know, guys, low prices is a race to the bottom. It's a quick race. You're going to beat me there. I'm staying here. Because the thing is, our pricing should never be based on what someone else is charging. Do you hear me? Yeah. If you are going to price your product, you have to price your product based on the payoff, or in other words, the benefits your customers are going to get from experiencing your service or your product. Are we together? If you are hyper-focused on identifying the problems they have, the problems they are experiencing, is that me? That's probably not me. Eh? No, not me. So you have to become hyper-focused on the problems they experience. Right? Are we together? What are their pain points? Right? What is the pleasure that they are seeking and not finding? And when I provide that pleasure or solve that pain point, how much better would their life be? Are we together? If I told you, how many of us would like, if I said to you guys, if you give me $1,000, I'll give you $10,000, who likes that offer? You give me 1,000, I give you 10,000. How many of us like that? All right. You give me 100,000 and I give you $1 million. Do you like that offer?
Yes.
Do you know what I just did there? I just told you my price. And do you know why you said you'd like that offer? Because I also showed you what you're going to get from it. Did I talk about any other competitors?
No.
What's the focus? What you are going to get from it. If you want to make a lot of money in this world, is become hyper-focused about what the person who you are serving is going to get from what you are doing. And when you get to a point where the amount of value you are delivering to them is significantly more than what they are paying, they won't object. If they object to paying your price, then they are not your customer. Are we together? You don't need every customer to buy from you.
Yeah.
Are we together? You have to just appreciate that there's some people who are not your customer, they're never going to be your customer, and that's fine. We move on. This whole thing of wanting, no, I think I see marriage, but I do no. When you say stuff like that, when you say we can't let a customer leave, what you're saying is we are comfortable also closing our shop down so you can stay in. Are we together? Because definitely, would you accept an offer where I say, you give me $1 million, I give you 100,000? So why do you guys negotiate your prices? Nice. So where are we here? So I said you discover your purpose, you develop yourself for your purpose. When I say develop yourself, is become a better person each and every day by investing in your self-education, learning something that's going to allow you to sharpen your craft. Are we together? That the customer. The person the customer saw yesterday must feel different from the person they saw today, and in a positive way. Are we together? That they must feel like, I thought that was the best, but I went back again last week, and these guys are consistently innovating and finding better ways to meet my need, right? So you develop yourself for the purpose, and then you deploy yourself in it. You deploy yourself in it. You become singularly focused at that end. If you look at some of the wealthiest people, that's what they've done. They don't bother themselves with saying, what does Elon Musk do that I'm not doing, or how can I become more like Elon Musk? They understand that they have a unique set of skills, a unique set of gifting, that when deployed to its right purpose is going to create room for them, and they don't need to be like anyone else. Are we together? Most of us are too busy trying to be like someone else. We even do t-shirts that write someone else's name on the back of it. Don't do that. You know, the hard thing about trying to be like someone else is that they're not there and you're not there. Do you get it? You're never going to win that race. Okay? So, okay, I wonder why it's not rubbing off. I kept it on for too long. So, what I want you to understand is that this same approach is what, when you're pitching to your customer, you're pitching to an investor. If you are in a place where you can make your prospects feel positive about what you are sharing with them, about your business, about what you're offering them, what you're going to do is you're going to create a belief in their hearts that, wait a minute, this thing could actually work. This person could actually be onto something. Are we together? So you create an anticipation in them that makes them want to say yes to what you're offering. Are we together? And then what it ends up doing, it creates a function in their hands, or in a willingness that when you eventually complete your offer to them, because this is as the conversation is going, by the time you've completed your offer, you've empowered them to want to say yes. Can you see it? So everything, once again, has to do with how you come up, how you show up. So every word that comes out of your mouth is an offer. So if you get used to saying, me, I'm broke, we don't have anything, we don't have... What are you saying? You are consistently repelling rich people like me. So I'm like, this person is just negative vibes, you know? What can they do for me if they're constantly talking about what the government has done? Are you the government official? Shut up, you're not a government official. Tell me what you are going to do for me. Are we together? Come to me and say, hey, did you see what they did with the ZIG? Do you know what our platform can actually help you do? It can help you move your money a bit quicker. And, you know, understand what, the moment anything happens, ask yourself, what is the solution I need to be doing? All right? And then another thing, so let's move on to the other bit. Who are you selling to? Right? Who am I selling to? If you say your product is for everyone, it is also for no one. All right? Yeah. If your product is for everyone, it is therefore also for no one. And when you're sitting with investors, that's the kind of questions, even customers, they'll look at you and feel like this person is delusional. So who are you selling to? Right? When we pitch to investors, when we used to pitch to investors, I remember this was a question they were asking us. All right, Terrence, we understand you've identified the problem. So remember, you've identified our problem. One of the problems our company identified was post-2008, after that dollarization period, a lot of people had sent their kids to really expensive private schools because we were burning money, right? So it didn't feel like a heavy toll on parents. But when we normalized in 2009, going into 2010, people now had invested, because remember when you send your kid to school, it's not a one-term thing, right? It's a couple of years most of the time. So these guys now needed a solution, needed to figure out how do we do it. And most of the schools started saying, hey, we started giving payment plans and we're giving people time to pay because they didn't want their kids to leave. But we've got this huge debtors list. Are you together? This is where we're now sitting there and saying, oh, how big is the problem? They're like, it's millions. Yes. One of the things you want to do is you want to get your customer to tell you what they are doing. So sometimes, let's not start business because I've always felt passionate about this. I don't do it. Go to the market and find out what the market needs done. So as they told us, hey man, this is $1 million, it's millions of dollars that we're there. We don't have the capacity to follow up. Remember, we're at school, the kid plays sports and all these things. So it's hard to kick a child out because we're also going to need the kid for sports. So we stuck, Terrence. Now it's affecting payroll, we're paying salaries late, we're paying a lot of things late, and it doesn't seem like these parents are going to pay us. The formula for making money is the same for all of us. You don't need to discover it. That's not a secret. If you want to build businesses that make lots of money, find a group of people who have a problem. A big enough group of people, right? For me, big is as few as possible, right? And you're going to understand why. That have a problem, that don't want their problem. Do you know there are people who want their problems? Yeah. Right. Okay. So you want a group of people that have a problem, they don't want their problem, and they are willing to pay to have someone else solve their problem. Are we together? And the best kind of problems are the kind of problems that even when you fix it, they still don't want it back. Are we together? And that's what we did. We found a problem, big enough group of people, solved their problem, And before you know it, your customer will tell you what they need done. And that's what you need to build. Sometimes you need to invest more time in marketing to find out. And marketing is the art or science of discovering or developing in more and more people a desire for what you have to give them. Right? That's the product or the opportunity that you're presenting. So it's discovering and developing. If you spend more time discovering and developing what people are going through, you'll get to a point where you'll know that this is going to work. Are we together? And I knew, like when we started the business, I moved to Bulawayo because I knew it was going to work. I didn't have the money for it to work, but I knew it was going to work. Because I sat and said, by the way, I'd almost been kicked out of school for not being able to pay. So I was also a contributing factor was working in my favor. Are we together? But I didn't let it become a determining factor. That's what allowed me to look at it as an opportunity as opposed to a failure in my life or something that's embarrassing. You know you've turned something that used to be that you thought was a determining factor into a contributing factor where you can talk about it and not be embarrassed by it. It can actually become the thing that allows your customers to know that there's a compassion about you. Right? Because people tend to want to do business with the person. They want to get to know the person they're doing business with before they do business with that person. Are we together? So, what did I learn in that journey? Right? So when I say we found our customers, at some point, when we started, remember I told you just 6 months worth of rent? In 3, 4, by the 5th year, we had a working capital of $1 million. Right? That was nice. But let's not go there. Right? So, we had a working capital of $1 million. By 2018, we got an investor to offered us $1 million to become a 49% shareholder. Right? And his vision was clear. This model works. In 4 years, we're going to sell this business for $10 million. I said no. Right? That's how confident I was. Then they changed the currency, and that's how depressed I was as well. Right? So what did I learn about that? Right? So what was this person buying? Because remember, when I started, people didn't want to give me money. The banks told me you don't have collateral. Yes. Right? Why do you think banks ask for collateral? So this is the part of the conversation where we talk about if you want to start raising funding, you need to know the traditional methods, models that are there, and the non-traditional ones. And I think in Zimbabwe, the better you get acquainted to non-traditional ways, it's quicker. Because unfortunately, I didn't grow up in a place where I worked and could afford to buy a house and then could sell the house to start the business. You get what I'm saying? That's not the WhatsApp group that I belong to. Right? I was in the WhatsApp group where we were renting. So when you're saying I want to start a business, you are hoping they will like the business you are doing and they won't ask you about security. So I asked, and that's a fact. That was a fact. So the question could have been, I could be moaning and say, hey, banks don't understand my youths and all this nonsense we hear, right? Or I could ask myself, Kuti, what are the facts here? Why do banks say that? They say that because one, the first step that they want to do is they want to make money from the transaction, correct? And they also want to avoid losing money from the transaction. Are we together? So how do they manifest their desire to make money? They ask you about, can you give us your business plan? So can you show us that you've taken the time to meet the customers and build enough portfolio of people where you can show us that once this thing starts going, enough people want what you have to sell, that it can make money from it, can generate cash flow. If you tick that box, they're saying, yes, you've gone there. But they say to themselves, hey, but then again, what if this thing fails? Because, do you know, like, there are beautiful, wonderful business ideas that sometimes it's a timing issue. You may have like a beautiful idea, but the timing is all wrong, and it doesn't work because the timing is wrong. You've done everything you need to do, the timing just was wrong, or something just happened, right? So they then say, let's have this collateral thing here that allows us to say, if it fails, we're going to get this asset and still are we together? And for as long as banks are operating against, if we had time, I'd explain to you the history of where collateral came from, but we don't. But if banks are still that way, you're going to have to understand that they are not your customer. Are we together? Don't complain to someone who's not your customer. If you are shopping for money, go to someone who understands your dynamic, right? So that's where you have to start looking at things like, are there competitions that are happening? Are there embassy grants that are going on? How can I get into those spaces where they don't need collateral, but they are looking for ideas that work? Can you see? So even in the art of raising money, it's also a space of finding my customer. Now your customer is the investor. And you're saying, what does the investor need versus what I can give? And you you make sure you find as many customers that have matching desires to what you've got to give. Are we together? How we found those kind of customers is you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And you have to believe, like guys, like a lot of this is an inside job. If you don't believe in what you are doing, no one is. Are we together? No one else is going to believe in it. We believed in what we were doing so much that we started realizing that how do I money to fund these loans? There was this, and then we had an entrepreneur. We were doing Pitch Nights at the Rainbow. If you guys remember back then, it was nice. There's an entrepreneur. There's a manager. They said there's a guy who's coming. He does this Gwanda Gospel Festival, where he brings his gospel artists over, and you know what? He needs a bit of help. How did I get to know the manager of Rainbow? He was my customer in the business. I together. Make the few customers you have, or the many customers you have, make them your friends. Because funds always come from friends. So because because I made him my friend, what tends to happen with friends? Friends tend to share things with each other. And especially friends that do stuff for each other. So each time I sent his kid to help him get his kid to school, he felt like he owed me.
Yes.
So, amen. Amen. Right? I feel like I'm in church. Right? So this guy came and said, Terry, do you think you can do a budget for him, a logistics budget? And he said, yeah, sure, 2 minutes. This is the stuff I know to do. Remember, that's the other lesson. Learn to take advantage of your advantages. All right?
Yes.
So I took advantage of my advantage, did the budget for him, and he's like, and he says to me, dude, I don't think I've got someone who was this detailed, who showed the numbers, told the story the way that you've told it. I said, thank you, I appreciate it. And you know what he did? He flipped the script. I thought I was just doing numbers for the guy. Then he says, so can you now manage the money for me? He was like, yo, okay. I was like, let me think about it. And then 3 days later, I get a call from the Rainbow Hotel, and they're like, this is your money, which has come here. And I was like, one, I don't have any money at the hotel, but I'm going to come anyway, all right? So, you know, when people say there's your money, just go and figure out where the money's come from. You know, there may be a rich uncle, a rich auntie that just has thought about you. There's a hole that was found, okay? You go. So I showed up, and the guy's like, it was just under 400,000. He's like, hey, I need you to, here's your money, here's the cash. He says, do what you said he needs to do. So it's like 400,000, just under 400,000 rand. Do what it needs to be done. I was like, okay. So took the money, got an armored guard, put it in the bank, and I managed it. It's not part of our core business, but it's an advantage that I had. And sometimes we cancel opportunities because we are saying, did a degree, do you get what I'm saying? Never be too big for the opportunities that are presented to you. Because you never know what door that opportunity wants to open for you. And for me, it was, the job entailed me coming to the hotel, signing for people's meals, driving back and forth from Gwanda. It's not the stuff that I was made to do. I'm a CEO. I am an MD. And we like to call those titles. But I was like, forget about it. I know what struggling looks like. I want to move out of my wife's parents' house. So I will do anything. If it's driving the car, if it's signing for meals, even if they had said go and sing on stage, I would have sang on stage. But what that did for me is that it created a situation where I got to meet more people than I would have otherwise known. Here's a secret to building wealth. Get as many people as you can to know you, like you, and trust you. They get to know you by you putting yourself out there. They get to like you by you being more interested in them than yourself. And they get to trust you when you do what you say you're going to do. Are we together? That relationship, that single concept, allowed me to raise $500,000 for the first technology festival in Dubai. Just, we're talking, it's like, dude, I like, and you know what was the thing that connected us? I like the way you were so honest with the funds I gave you. You were accountable. You kept me from losing money because we started realizing that a lot of people like to steal from rich people and will take advantage. And I started calling people out. You can't do that. And he trusted me. This guy showed up while I was on holiday. He says, where are you? And it was on holiday with my family. So he said, where are you? Like, no, I'm here. And he's like, okay, cool. Showed up with $300,000 in a briefcase and said, hey, thanks a lot for what you did for me. Right? Can you see it? So that's fundraising. Right? That's capital raising. Right? That's fundraising. Then he called me up the next year and was like, here's $500,000. We'll make sure your business works. And when I said to him, hey, let's do a contract, and said, we want to sound smart, let's do a contract. He's like, dude, you're my friend. I could never do a contract with you. Let's do a handshake. And we did a handshake. And I said, so when is the money coming back? He's like, whenever you want it to come back. It's not coming back. Right. Are you with me? That was the way we raised capital, right? Relationships. And doing the small things very well, that someone feels like, man, I need to double click on what this guy is doing. He's like, oh, you're working with schools. He got interested in what I was doing because I was hyper focused on being interested in what he was doing. Are we together? That's the same thing with another $300,000 we raised. It was because my friend our business partner went and spoke at a conference so well that Bill Gates saw him, and my Masiwa saw him and says, what are you doing in Geneva? And why is Bill Gates asking you to speak? I said, I don't know. And then she said, can you come to South Africa and speak to me as well? Do you know what happens? Is that if you get to a point where you're putting yourself out there, you've got something. I think one of the things we need to train ourselves to do is when we've found what we are supposed to do, have a good thing to say, practice saying it often, and have a good time saying it. That's what got my friend in those seats. Because what it will do is it will create an attraction from other people to want to be associated with him. And because she wanted to be associated with him, probably one of the few black people in Geneva at the conference, that helped him. It allowed him to have a conversation with her about the work we were doing. Can you see like how money can be found? It's not non-traditional. But sometimes that's probably going to be the best kind of money because you are literally charting the terms as you go. And we had that money, and that allowed us from guys who were broke and wondering where the next paycheck or where the next investment would come in. Because we ran a business that required lots of money to support people. And the less money we had, the less effective we could be. But it was from that focus. So who did we start? And I was asking myself, but why are people giving us this money? At some point I was like, what's going on? Started seeing it's about who we were selling to. So, if you want to attract investment, and if you want to build wealth very quickly, sell to these groups of people. First one, when you're listening, find rich people. Sell to rich people. Right? Rich people have problems. Rich people's problems are even bigger than poor people's problems. Are you aware of it? So sell to rich people. Find a way to sell to rich people. One of the things, we used to work with a school called Falcon. If we did payment plans for 10 kids at Falcon, it would be the equivalent of doing 300 payment plans for kids at another school. Can you see? Because when you sell to rich people, the price you're able to charge is a lot better. Are we together? So it allows you to get the most out of your efforts. And the thing with, do you know who wants to make more money than poor people? Rich people, exactly. Right? So they are driven to make more because to them it's a game.
Yeah.
It's about maxing out their potential. It's about figuring out what's the next step. You get what I'm saying? So you want to build a business where you can sell to rich people. How to get it? The next group of people you want to sell to is what we call transformation seekers. What are transformation seekers? People who see a better life for themselves that they don't have today, but they want it. They want it. It's someone who's saying, I don't like what my weight looks like now, I want to look better. Transformation. It's someone who's saying, hey, you know what? I grew up poor, it's not fun, I want to build something better. Transformation. It's people who are saying, look, it doesn't matter that I'm making 10, 20,000 now, I feel like I'm stuck because I think I should be on 100, 200,000. Because transformation seekers may not be rich, or some of them may not be rich, but they will find a way to pay to get the payoff they desire. Are we together? Like one of the things we learned when WhatsApp came through was that we had a lot of people who wanted to speak to their relatives overseas, but the cost of landlines was prohibitive. So it seemed like people didn't like to talk to each other, but no, we just didn't have the money to do it. So when WhatsApp came and said, oh yeah, by the way, you can make calls to each other anywhere around the world, transformation seekers were like, Shaman, give me that smartphone, quickly. Are we together? Find a way of communicating how your product or service delivers a transformation, and you will find the transformation seekers will find you. Are we together? The third group of people, I hope you guys don't hate me after this, is people in a high emotional state. Are we together? Example. People who are getting ready for their lobola ceremony are in a high emotional state, particularly the females. Right? They want their dress to stand out because when the photos go to Instagram, people need to see that I got married today. So when the designer says, it's just going to be 1,500, they're looking at their boyfriend and saying, bad dad. Pay it. Because I need you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Can you guys see it? Because they're in a high emotional state. The event needs to happen. Are we together? I hope you guys don't hate me for the second example. People who have a death are in a high emotional state. You guys know it? Because now, have you ever been to places where the person is dead, but people say, no, this person deserves the best casket possible? I'm like, why? They are not dead. They don't. Do you guys know that the person who's dead doesn't care? They would have cared maybe when they were alive, but now that they're dead, they don't care. But we will get to a point where we'll be like, Shaman, let's do kazat, let's get to 1,000 China just to buy a casket. And who are you paying? The company that makes the casket. And they know. They know that your state is making you want to buy these things. Yeah. I was with a friend of mine yesterday. My sister was in an accident. Thank God she's okay. But he had his grandfather who's got a condition. And he said to me, hey, Terrence, I've just come to, I won't name the hospital. I've just come here with my granddad and he's not doing too well. He's bleeding, he's got some internal bleeding. And this hospital has said they need $2,500 before they can attend to him. Do you know what he did? He went and found the $2,500. I'm not saying it's good. But, and here's the thing. Don't be the one that puts them in the high emotional state. Let's just clarify that. If you find them in a high emotional state, these are people who you can serve, and they're going to be willing to pay a premium for it. Are we together? Can you guys see the kind of groups? So if you are going to an investor, you show them that your database involves is rich people. They're going to say, oh cool, that means we're going to make our money a lot quicker, right? If they see you've got transformation seekers, they say, oh, okay, we're going to get a high uptake for the service. Are we together? So that's why EcoCash was very big for a season, because there are a lot of transformation seekers. There are people who've been excluded for so long in the banking system that this seemed like something that could work for them. Are we together? So when you can show, and when you are pitching and saying, my customers are rich transformation seekers or people in a high emotional state, the person you are speaking to says this person knows what they're doing. Are we together? Let's talk about the businesses you can sell to. Right? There are 3 businesses as well you need to put on your radar to sell to. The first business is businesses that require your products to function. All right, together. What does TV sales and hire sell? Furniture and appliances, right? So if you're someone who manufactures furniture, would you be someone that they need to buy from? Most likely, right? Yes. Because the entire business model revolves around them selling furniture and appliances. So they need those kinds of people. Are we together? So if you can sell things that other businesses use, then you are used for their operation. That's the same thing with software. And I think that's where AI is that, and I remember I was chatting to this guy in North Carolina, and he built a unicorn business. So unicorn means a business that's worth over, Bakani is what, 100 million, right? Yeah. $1 billion. And at the time, the definition included being privately owned. It wasn't listed yet. And this guy's degree was in library studies, right? But he was running a tech company. Are we together? So to sort of show you guys that the degree you do has very little to do with the kind of place you can end up. Are we together? Never limit yourself according to what your education is. So this guy says to me, there's one thing I've learned in this industry is a lot of tech entrepreneurs waste a lot of time talking about their technology. No one cares about your technology. Do you know that? Certainly I don't. Your customers don't care about your technology. They care about their problem. And how what you are doing solves their problem. That is why if you are in the tech space, you are better off teaching yourself how to learn, like how to speak like a 10-year-old. Look at your customers, especially me. Like this guy is 10 years old, because that's how dumb I can be with some of these conversations. And if you speak like to me like I'm a 10-year-old, that means that you can't be telling me machine learning and it's going to then do the double click and no. Just tell me, Terrence, this thing's going to allow you to save 10 hours on your reports. Right? This thing's going to allow you to write, like there's a product we added at our business that helps people identify where their strengths lie. Right? So where can they grow the most? And we started doing these growth acceleration reports, which are reports that help our clients know that from this particular team member, if you want to get the best out of them, do this. So we were getting the reports in very technical language. And what we started doing is, I think it was the previous presenter called generative AI. So we actually realized that generative AI could actually be a tool for us. So we took it and said, let's take that complicated language, put it into, what is it called, man? Canvas Studio, and then click on the button that says simplify. Snap, I just told you guys our business. Wow. Okay, anyway, but it's good. And that's what we did. We took a complicated thing, simplified it, read it, understood it, shared it with our clients. Oh, that's what it means. Because the client needs to understand how the solution is going to work for them first. And they don't be impressed by fancy words. Are we together? So for us, that's become such a great tool because it is generating so many leads for us. Because we've taken technology and used it as a tool. I don't go to a meeting and say, so we're using Canvas Studios. Who cares about what we are using? I'm just saying, I'm going to give you a report so simple you can't fail with what I'm doing. You can't fail to get the best out of your team with what we're going to give you. I'm going to give you so much value in terms of how to get your team performing like some of the best teams in the world. It's going to cost you this amount of money. And who doesn't want the team to perform like the best teams? Because that's where profitability is. Performance is where you find profitability and productivity and engagement. Correct? And these are things that the companies speak every day. And I'm just coming and saying, what you guys speak about, I found a way to do it. They don't care how I'm doing it. So, you get what I'm saying? So, sell to businesses that use your product. What? I need to handle it. The second group is you want to sell to businesses that need an upgrade in their reputation. Do you guys know that there are some businesses that people just don't like? And they know that people don't like them? Just being able to say, guys, I can get to a point where I can help you guys tell your story in a much better way than you currently telling it. That could actually get you to a point where they'll say, oh, okay, let's do these campaigns. Oh, okay, this is going to make people understand that we're not just there to steal their money. You get what I'm saying? I think a lot of banks need because with what they did in 2008, what they did in 2019, you could do a lot of good on reputation management for organizations and getting them to a place where customers actually feel like, these guys are not the bank. Or TTI, I think someone said. And then you want to sell to businesses that charge premium prices. Why do you want to sell to businesses that charge premium prices? Because your high price is not much. Are you together? So there are some businesses that if they are going for price competition, it may be very difficult for them to be willing to pay you a high price. You get what I'm saying? Because you'll get a manager be like, do you know how many bags of meal we would need to sell to pay your price? You get what I'm saying? But if you're going to someone and saying, and here's the thing, you need to go to organizations that charge premium prices and say to them, you guys are going to pay me $6,000, but I'm going to give you a 10x result for the investment of $6,000. You know what I'm saying? And for them, if their product costs $2,000 or $3,000 per client, they're saying, hey, at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? It's just 2 clients. But if it pays off, then we're going to get what? 10, 20. Do you get what I'm saying? Can you guys see that the whole idea is to always come back and say, but what I want to charge must be a function of what I'm going to deliver for you as a customer. How you to get it? So you want to get those clients that charge premium prices. Then the last group you want to sell to. And I'm telling you, this is, look for your customers in that way. You find yourself not having to work as hard. I think we call them an NGO in this country. Sell to NGOs or non-profits. My way, guys. The money that is there. Yeah, guys. Yeah. Those guys, they pay. And you know how they pay? Because it's not their money. Do you guys know it's not their money? Whose money is it? Donors' money. And where most of the donors are from Europe, what? Hey, guys, when I got my first contract, I looked at it and said, sure. Because the thing is, they have projects that need to be done. How you to get it? Do you know the number of, when you hear the country saying, we need to improve youth unemployment and we need to improve food resilience, you should be asking yourself, what can I do that can help that sector? I want to challenge the guys who are in the tech space that you guys should be at the forefront of solution development for non-profits, especially non-profits that are looking at things like poverty alleviation. Do you guys know that? Because do you know that a lot of the initiatives that they are doing operate at the lowest level of agriculture? It is based from primary, right? And all they're doing is we sowing, we reaping, we selling it in its raw state, right? But you guys who are in tech there's things you can do in terms of improving their access to markets. There are things you can do in terms of helping them tell their story. There's a lady I saw who was on Shark Tank. She was pitching coffee made in Kenya by women in Kenya. And do you know what the bulk of her pitch was not about coffee. What do you guys think it was about? The people. It was about the people. So she told the story and won people over with the story. And the product then came as proof of the story. Do you get what I'm saying? The coffee tastes different to some people if it's helping poor people. Right? Forgive me for being bad. Right? But what have they done? They've built a product. How many coffee brands are there out there? Many. But what they've done is they've managed to get our focus because they've brought another dimension to it. How many stories do you think we have in Zimbabwe? You guys know that being Zimbabwean is an achievement. Do you guys know that? We should put that thing on our CV. Do you guys know the kind of stuff we survive in this country? Yeah? Like South Africans are, I hope this is not bad. Let me just keep quiet. I'm going to be working there very soon. Okay? There are things that we are able to get through that other people cannot figure out how we get there. Do you guys understand that when you tell someone you can't send me money using the bank, someone will look at you and say, what did you? And to Zimbabwe, it's fine. We know that sending transfers, no, banks won't do it, work with us, right? Or if you're going to do this contract, no, you need to do it. Simple is not simple in our country, but somehow we still find a way to get by. Like there's stuff that we've got that we should understand that it's incredibly valuable, and it's stuff that other people would want. Sell to NGOs. There's something about the Zimbabwean imagination that we're not tapping into. There are products, there are stories we need to tell. When we tell those stories, you're going to be amazed at how much money we'll be able to create for them. NGOs will pay you handsomely or beautifully if you're going to help them raise money, because they're always looking for money. Or you're going to help them accomplish their vision or their goal. Right? That's all. Focus. If you focus on these two things, if you can help them do these two things, you'll be shocked at the kind of money. I'm writing a book to do that thing. How did you get it? And I think some of you should be showing some of the skills development you should be focusing on is how do we create more and more developers, because the world is getting more and more. All this AI stuff is creating remarkable opportunities. Rural development should also incorporate an aspect of technology, because that's where the world is going to now, right? And the amount of money people can be making, they're like, I looked at a job in tech sales where you don't need a degree, you just need to, all you're doing is you're making calls to set appointments, you make 40 to 60,000 a year, just doing that. And the next group of people, so I said NGOs. The next group you want to sell to is education institutions. Do you guys know that education institutions, most of them around the world, get what they call activity budgets? Do you know that? There's a guy I met in South Africa at a conference last year. He wrote a book called Surviving the South African Tertiary Education System as an undergraduate. I probably got the title wrong, but it's got something to do with that. Right? And you know, like from the school, from one of the school that handles financial aid, the department that handles financial aid, bought I think over 30,000 copies from me over the last couple of years. Because every student that's coming in, that's international, that's local, they're buying the book and saying, here's the book. Here's the book. Can you guys see it? There are people who make thousands of dollars coming to speak at your school. You're motivational speakers. And you are laughing at them, I'm motivated, but don't motivate them, what is it? Do you get what I'm saying? There are things, because education institutions are expected to do certain things. So when they make announcements that we need this to happen, or we need to develop this, or we need to develop our sport, find your way into those institutions. Because when you get into institutions, it's late, right? And then the last group of people is the self-government. I think there's a brother who's mastered this art very well, eh? You know the brother, eh? We know him. You know him, eh? Sell to the government. Why is it also good to sell to the government? Because they are spending, it's not their money. It's not their money, right? But they've got clear objectives of what needs to be done in the social development space. So when government can't do it, they pass on the job to NGOs. You guys see? So my question to you is, where are you going to be selling your products? Like when you think about your customers, if you don't have some of these 9 that I've just shared, it's going to be one, very difficult for you to attract enough interest from other people to invest in it. And it's going to be a lot of work because you're going to be working with people. I speak to NGOs about this, is that you want to do business with people that want what you have to sell, not people that need what you have to sell. Do you guys see the difference? There are people who you can see and say, these guys need what I'm doing. It's a fact, they need what I'm doing. But the problem is they don't want to buy from me. And here's a lesson that's for free, it's a painful lesson. People do things for one singular reason. One singular reason. All of us. We do things because we feel like it. What makes us feel like it is a whole different, it's a host of other things, but we do things because we feel like it. So if you can't get people to feel like doing business with you, they won't do business with you, even if you are the best in class. That's why you have people who talk about best known always is best. Because if it's best known and liked, people are going to, if the quality can be okay. So we have to get to a point where we get people to feel like doing this. That also means not shouting at them all the time. Like, how can you get a government tender if you're always complaining about the government? Move on. You must just shut up and do business. Right? You fix the rot when you are in there and you can do something about it. Okay? Don't be corrupt, but don't spend too much time shouting at your customers. Because they're not going to feel like they want to come back. Are you good? Yeah. I think I've probably done overtime because I didn't see any watch. Where's my team? Good. But I will continue. If you guys want to stop, let me know. We'll continue until I'm told to stop. I guess. I'm supposed to stop. Are we good? Just find out from Toby first, please. Right. So the last thing, whilst we wait to be stopped, I want you to get clear on is, what is your perspective of money? What is your perspective of money? Because the perspective that you have, opinions, okay. The perspective that you have of money is either drawing you closer to the dream you have financially, or it's pushing you backwards. Okay? And that perspective that you have of money opens you up to what I call these 4 windows of opportunity. Right? 4 windows of opportunity that determine how much money is going to flow to you. Are we together? And your perspective of money opens you up to some of the worst ways to make money and some of the best ways to make money. I'll quickly see if we can go through that. The worst way to make money is this thing called having a job. All right? It's the worst way to make money. It's the worst legitimate way to make money. Okay? I'm not saying we quit your job. Please don't do that. Okay? That's stupid, right? Stay in that job. But I'm just telling you, it's the worst way amongst the 4 ways that are available to you. Right? And the reason why I'm saying it's the worst way is because when you're at your job, you are trading time for money. Correct? We can agree, right?
Yeah.
There's a certain number of hours that they expect from you. And because you're trading your time for money, it also then limits the amount of money you can make because there are only so many hours that you can work. Correct? So you capped. That's why it's the worst. It's not like a terrible thing. It's like the devil. No. It's just the worst because it limits how much you can actually make. And truth be told, and I've experienced this in Zimbabwe, there are very few people in Zimbabwe who are willing to pay you what you're worth. Very few, right? What I've painfully experienced is there are so many people who are trying to exploit you and pay you as little as possible for what you are doing. Right? So that's why it's the worst way. Because your revenue generation is tied so much to time and to someone else's perspective of what you are doing for them. Correct? So that's the worst way. The second worst way, and I think some of us get into that way, where we say, look, I'm tired of working for someone else. I'm going to start a business, right? So we start a business because we are running away from a boss. It's the worst motive to start a business, right? And when we start that business, because we are running away from something and not running to something, and that is, when you're running to serve people, it's a different perspective, okay? Because you know that perspective is going to allow you to build the systems necessary for what you're about to start to work. The second worst way is when you own a job. There's having a job, and then there's owning a job. Do you know how you know you own a job? When you are the only employee in that business. Sorry if I just said your name. If you are the only employee in your business, you don't own a business, you own a job. Right? And what you've done is you've swapped one boss for 36 or however many bosses that you call customers. Right? The beautiful thing is you are in high demand. Your customers are, they keep you busy. Right? They keep you busy. And you're definitely going to make more money than someone who has a job. Correct?
No.
But you're not going to have as much time to spend doing other things than a person that has a job. And just like the person who has a job, both of you are limited by the amount of time you can dedicate to that job. But you are in a worse off state because if you fall sick, what happens to the money? It stops, right? Yeah. If you have a disability, the money stops. So if anything bad happens to you, it's the end of it. And if you are going to an investor, that's the thing. When they ask you who is in your team, that's the question they're trying to determine. Does this person run a business or they own a job? Right? Because very few times are people willing to invest in someone who owns a job. Who owns a job. Are we together? If they love your idea that much, have you guys ever heard of this term called key man insurance? Some of you have, eh? Yeah. Some of you haven't. So for those who haven't, let me explain what key man insurance is. Key man insurance is when you run a business where you are the most important resource in that business. And the amount of stuff you know is so critical to the functioning of that business that if you were to disappear from that business could potentially shut down. Almost sounds like our Msiama businesses, right? Mm. And what they do is the investors insist on key man insurance because key man insurance says if Terrence dies, the insurance company is going to pay us X number of millions or X number of thousands. Are we together? So what they're getting paid for is they say when you go, at least we'll get some dividend from your debt because this business is likely to shut down. Are we together? Or if it doesn't shut down, it may take us a bit more effort to try and find a person who can take this business over. Are we together? So that's how if you own a business, you can attract investors. But you don't want to be the person who's doing everything because you're going to get tired. And the only reason you really want to become wealthy is you want to become wealthy so you can buy back your time. Are you together? You want to get to a point where you're making enough money that you can actually go back and start spending time with your kids. You can begin to dig deeper into your purpose. You can work on your fitness and all this. Enjoy the fruits of what you've done, you've labored to do. Right? Do you guys know people who are making money but they are working so hard that they can't enjoy that money? Yes. Do you know the people who are enjoying that money? Who the people who are enjoying that money are? It's their maid, it's their garden boy who's like, when they leave, they're like, George, let's watch the DSTV. Let's watch the Euros. You don't have time to watch the Euros. But your people who are working for you are like, hey, can you give me some? Can I get some bruschetta, please? What's on cheese? You haven't eaten it because you're so busy working. Can you guys see it? And that's because you believe this lie that time is money. Hey, guys, that's a lie. Time is not money. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. Can I give you an example to prove myself? Because I don't like just throwing things and not proving it. How many of us would like $1 million? If I said I could give you $1 million today, how many of you would say yes? Regardless of what currency it is. Who of us would want, by show of hands, who would want it? If I promised you I'd give you $1 million, who would want it? Okay, those who don't want, okay, maybe 10 million? 10 million who tough crowd. All right. So at least I got 90%. Eh?
It depends on the conditions.
What's your name?
Ayanda.
Yo, I love the way you sing. Now the conditions. If I then said, I'll give you this million, but unfortunately, after I give you this million, you're going to die within 24 hours. I'm sure that's how many of us are going to want the million? Not many of us, right? What's just happened? Oh, you good with 24 hours? We need to talk. All right. I know some organ donors who want some people who need organs. Can you guys see what's just happened there? You want the money, but the condition that is going to mean that you don't have time actually shows us that wealth is measured more in time than it actually is in money. That for you, wealth is going to be, and I want you guys, please take this down if you can, is the quality of life you are going to live, or the quality of life you will enjoy. That you can actually look back and say, hey, I was wealthy. It's based on the number of experiences you can put in your years. Are we together? So in the journey where you are building this business, do not get to a point where you're so obsessed with building $1 billion company that you don't take time to actually enjoy the money. Take a break, go on a holiday, spend some time with your family, invest in your extended family, that kind of build friendships. Do you get what I'm saying? Because if your singular focus becomes the money is a byproduct, it is not a goal. Are we together? Money is just a representation that you are someone who knows how to serve other people. The moment you make money the focus, you begin to. How many of you have heard of movie stars that kill themselves and they worth billions? So many of them, right? Yeah. Because what's happened is that they spent the bulk of their life chasing money, only to realize that it's got an emptiness in it, because money is not nice if you don't have friends to spend it with, your family that loves you, or with some people you don't have the health to get it, or your belief systems are so wrong, you've explained so many people that you can't live with yourself because of the things that you've done. And that drives you to a place of absolute loneliness. Now it's good. Yeah. So, we've spoken about those who own a job, we've spoken about those who have a job. Those are the two worst ways. The two best ways, and I'll start with the very best way to make money, is going to be when you get to a point where you own a system. When you own a system. And what does that mean? Is that when you can build something that you devote a lot of time in the process of building it, but after you've built it, it can actually function without you in it. Are we together? That when you build a business, one of your goals as an entrepreneur, as you build a business, is to get to a point where you can fire yourself from your business. Are we together? Yes. That your business continues without you. That means that it pays you without you having to wake up and going to it. Are we together? Yes. People who are in the tech space, you guys have the opportunity to say, what are some of the systems I can build for people that are going to make some of the mundane tasks disappear? What are some of the things that you can do to improve people's performance? There are people who are going to own these buildings. They have tenants. You can build real estate systems that allow them to collect on their money a lot easier. Are we together? You can build people systems that allow people to better manage the people that they've got. Are we together? All these things. There are people, you can begin to build a system. Even this TTI, we don't like them, but they've built a parking system. Mm-hmm. And you don't like them, but some of us with cars, we are paying them. Mm-hmm. Are we together? Do you think the owner of TTI wakes up every morning and says, how many meters do we have? He doesn't care. or he cares. But he doesn't have to be there to show he cares. Are we together? So how can you build a system that's going to take you a bit of time to take your time, energy, effort, and money building it, but once it's built, it starts to make money for you? That's the best way. That's the best perspective of money. And that's where you see the primary purpose of money being to make more money because you are serving more people. The question is, how can I make life easier for a group of people and do it in a way that it doesn't also require me to labor every single time I deliver it? Are we together? And at this particular, it takes courage, guys. I'll be honest, it takes a lot of courage to build business systems. Because when you're building a business system, there's more money going out than the money coming in initially. Are we together? Like it's painful. I remember when we were building the business, it was tough. There's a point, can I be honest with you guys so you guys know that I'm not trying to make, I'm still believers. There's a point where I went to my wife and I was like, dude, I have failed you as a husband. Like, this is not the life you were planning to live. How are we in this place where we don't even know? Like, the points where the in-laws would be like, we need minimum, and I'm looking at them like, yeah, we need minimum. Like, how do we do it? Like, you're thinking, when you get to points where, I felt like a failure so many times. And that's where relationships are going, because when I felt like quitting, she's like, dude, but I think you're just going to work still. And that's why I married you. You shared with me a vision when you had nothing. Like, oh, yeah, so we've been here before. Okay, let's keep going. Right? Are we together? It's going to require a lot of courage because in your business and in your career and anything you're going to do, you're going to realize this painful but real fact about life, that the way up is down. The moment you've got an intention to do something amazing, what's going to show up is something difficult. But if you last through that difficulty, you're going to start seeing it go up. And when it goes up, it's going to make all those closed doors seem like nothing. We good? And the last way, which is the second best way, is to get to a point where, remember at this point, when you're at that point where you're building systems, you're going to get a lot more investors because the investors are going to... Have you ever been asked the question, those who pitch, how scalable is your business? Yeah. What they're asking you is, where is the business system in your business? That's the question they're asking. So if you can answer that question, you've already answered the question around scale. And then the last thing, the second best way to make money is where it's called SMS. You sow money seeds, right? Sowing money seeds means you move, and I made this, can I share with you guys another mistake I made? In the moment our business started to show promise and was making profit, do you know what I would do? Every year we made profit, what do you guys think I did? I did not buy a Fortuna, right? But what do you guys think I did? I took the profit and did what? Oh, it's a business, right? I put it back into the business, right? Every single year, second year, third year. Then I was like, then I read a book, and the guy was like, it's stupid to do that. Why would you do that? Why would you put all your eggs in one basket? Do you know that you could have the best business doing very well and someone changes the policy? Like, I got that advice from reading this book before the inevitable thing happened. And that I started to sow money seeds, and sowing money seeds is when you move from being a business owner and start to take some of the money you are making and start investing it in other businesses as well. When you start investing on things like the Zimbabwe stock market, the Joburg stock market, or whatever stock market is, when you start buying assets like real estate, right? And start creating, where you are now making your money work for you. That's going to create a situation where when the main business is going through some things, the assets you've created elsewhere will actually begin to help. In personal finance, that's when you start by saying, how much would I need to get through an emergency? And you start having an emergency fund. And you hold on to that emergency fund long enough so that your investments can start earning you income that sustains your daily existence. Are we together? If you do those things, if you start to focus yourself in your life, you're going to get to a point that when an investor or when a customer sits with you, they feel like they are missing out by not doing business with you. All right, thank you guys for your time. We probably ran over.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just give you an extra 2 minutes for any questions from
Terrence.
Any questions?
Yes.
So you said you read a book. What's the title?
Mama, nah, that's the question. So the book I read was a book called Money Master the Game. But the books I would recommend now, especially if you are someone who's seeking a transformation in your life, is this book called From Trashman to Cashman. If you guys, do they have your details?
Yes.
Great. So for coming here, I will give you a soft copy of that book, and Toby's going to share it with you guys. So if you want a copy of the Trashman to Cashman, you chat to Toby and she'll share that book with you. That's an amazing book. That's a book that speaks about how you can come from abject poverty and become a multi-millionaire. And that book is so real. And you know why else I like it? It's 94 pages. No, some guys are like, 300, 400 pages. So Money Master the Game is a 600 to 700 page book. So you really need to desire breakthrough to read that one. And then there's a book called Thou Shalt Prosper, written by a rabbi who should actually have shared this. If you don't have a business idea yet, and you're sort of struggling to figure out what business should I start a business that sells what other people, that sells stuff that other businesses have. I think in the tech term is look at becoming an affiliate for certain businesses, right? I am an affiliate for my Rabbi Daniel Lappin. He sells courses, and being an affiliate and a license holder, I get to, like the stuff that I use, I get to share with other people that I believe it can deliver value for, and because I do that, each time someone buys that, I get paid. Are we together? And there are hundreds, thousands of companies on the internet that are doing that. So if there's stuff that you love to watch, love to do, ask the person that you tend to spend a lot of time watching or stuff if they consider having you as an affiliate. Even if they don't have the program, just get into the habit of saying, hey, that's what I did with Rabbi Lappin. I was like, you know what, I've watched so much of your YouTube, I feel like I know you, like we were born, like you are my uncle. Are there any courses that you have that I could sell? You know, they didn't have it on out there. Then they wrote back to me and they're like, usually we give licenses and affiliates to pastors and people we know, right? But something about what you wrote to us has made us change our minds. So welcome to the club. You're an affiliate and here's your license. The reason I tell you the story is not to impress you, but to let you know that you can only get a yes if you're willing to ask. And the worst thing that could happen is they'll say no, but are you any different than before you asked? No. Now at least you're better off, you know what not to say, right?
So you say you download.
Yes.
Can I be a friend?
It's a yes, right? But my friendship comes with terms. Right? My friendship comes with these terms. That you must be someone. I only want to be friends with someone who desires a transformation in their life. One, I want to be friends with someone who I believe can teach me something. So that means you also have to be investing in yourself to become a better version of yourself. And I want to be friends with someone who's always looking at the positive side of the coin. Because if you look at the negative side, you are desperate. And I don't like playing with desperate. Right? So if you are comfortable with those terms, and trust me, being my friend is tough.
Sure.
Because I will push you, and I expect you to push me as well. Right? So if you're fine with those terms, we'll swap numbers after this in your face. Okay, cool. Yes.
Forget being your friend, may I work for you?
No, I don't want you to work for me. Because if you want to work for me, that shows me that I've failed at what I've come to do.
Yeah, that's the point.
I failed, right? I failed because what I want you to know is that I should be at a point where I say, can I work for you? Because now you know what I bring to the table, but I'm more interested in what you bring to the table. But what I will say to you is that if you determine in yourself to constantly, like, who said they volunteer? I think someone's talking about volunteering. Maybe it's not in this meeting. But if you're a person who's constantly volunteering, if we keep meeting each other in places, chances are, if I don't hire you, I'm going to find someone who will hire you. More likely the later than before, right? Because that's like one of the things I love doing. If I see someone who's valuable, I'm going to become such a cheerleader of you that people will think that me and you, there's something going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I also have a question. When you're speaking, I try to pick what you're saying to do. What's your area?
I make noise. so I do anything that my customers need done that leverages the strengths I have. So in English, what do? I told you I'm a money coach at the beginning, right? So I work with the clientele that I've found that is interested in the stuff I'm doing. And remember, I say interested in the stuff I've got to give. Are investment clubs, so they're transformation seekers. They're trying to build wealth and build wealth as a group for their families. Right? I work with rich people who want to protect the wealth that they've built and create a situation where their children are able to continue the legacy that they've built. Right? I work with companies that are wanting to build bigger and stronger teams. I help them find out what's special about their people. Right? And then I create companies like the companies that Linda and I, the lady in the t-shirt, Good People Serving, that provides financing solutions, right, to education institutions. We help them collect on their fees so that they don't have to mess up their relation with their parents. Okay? And I speak on issues to do with finance, on issues to do with identity, on issues to do with performance. And where do I speak? I speak with these guys. Like this weekend, I'm going to be in Durban speaking to these guys. Making money. Because I help people accomplish their visions. Right? So yeah, that's the stuff I do. Yeah, and a lot of other things. We sell clothes with my wife as well. That's how I met her. So we said that worked for us. Let's keep doing it. And I'm a certified marriage coach. So I help people with their marriages as well. So can you see how many divorces are there out there? Too many to count. So what do? I help people stay together.